This is Kelly.
And this is Amy.
And you're listening to Diary of a Death Investigator. Today we have Mama Mia joining us.
I'm here to defend myself.
That's what I told Amy. I said that's why she wants to come on, because she wants to defend herself.
Maybe on this case...
Talk about my pantry. Or my refrigerator.
You can be an expert in this field, maybe, on this case.
Yeah, Amy picked a good one for us. She started laughing when she was reading it. She's like, oh yeah, this is going to be gross. So... not that it's funny, but you never know.
You literally said, as I was going through the cases today, that the best cases are like basically ones of misery, where you're like, oh, I think your best cases are ones where you have like the descriptions of like all the nasty things. I'm like, so basically ones where it's like disgusting, where I have to go through gross things. Like,
yeah, I'm not laughing at the person. I'm laughing at you.
Yeah, thank you. Because, it just makes me a better person today. So,
yeah, there you go. I'm helping you. I'm helping you help me.
You help me in everything I do. So,
that's true. Life coach. That's what big sisters are for.
Okay.
I am a bit nasally today, so hopefully I get over this soon. But I was lucky enough to catch COVID. I think it's been the third time. So just for anybody out there, be careful this summer. COVID's alive and kicking. I'm the third or fourth person I know that's had it in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So, and this time was the first time I lost my sense of taste and smell, which was scary because, and here's the scariest part, because I would have been a podcast episode because I couldn't smell the stuff in the refrigerator. So I didn't know if like what I was cooking was bad. So I finally had to tell Jeff, like, I'm pretty sure I shouldn't be cooking because I can't smell if these things are good or bad.
I'm keeping my opinions to myself.
So, yeah, he would have been my guinea pig. Although, yeah, I don't even know if he would have noticed.
She has tested negative, though. I want you to know, because I know you're coming out here at the end of the week. And
oh, I tested negative a long time ago.
You know what? I was working still for the medical examiner here during COVID, and I was picking up people that had COVID, and I would have to go into people's homes to pick up the deceased people that we know died from COVID, and their family members would all have COVID in the house as well. And none of them would be wearing masks or anything. And they would be right in front of me trying to talk to me, and I'd be wearing 2 masks. And I would be trying to get information from them. And they were like, well, I can't hear you. And I'm like, well, I'm not taking anything off to talk to you. So, yeah, COVID is kind of crazy. It's crazy that, well,
we're still talking about it 4 years later. Yeah, and we're still talking about.
That's how viruses work. They have variants, and that's how they survive. But I was literally thinking about that today. It's weird because I saw this TikTok of this girl that's like, just so you know, not every girl's washing their hands. I was like, ew, do we not remember like COVID? So go back to 4 years ago when people were washing their hands more than ever before. So
I think I was always good at washing my hands because I don't like germs, but I've always been good about like, I'm the person that always had the Clorox wipes in bulk anyway. And like the soaps, because I buy them on sale from Bath and Body Works.
Yeah.
Bath and Body Works.
Mom and I will send coupons back and forth saying, it's time to buy. They're $2.99.
It's on sale. It's on sale.
I'm loaded. So you don't have to worry about that at my house. We clean.
Well, every time I got in the car, I kept hand sanitizer in there. So I was really good about wiping my cart down. I would get in my car and I'd use hand sanitizer every time I got in the car. I got COVID once right about the time I got my shot, and like my third one, because we all had to get boosters. And then I got a little bit lazy about using hand sanitizer on the whole cart. Everybody was getting over COVID. They were over it. They'd been over it. They were just tired of hearing about it. And then I wasn't using as much hand sanitizer. And I got like 2 colds.
Yeah.
I mean, I got sick because I hadn't been sick for so long. And then I realized, every year I don't have allergies in November or March. I have some kind of flu or cold. And I thought it was allergies. And then during COVID, I wasn't going anywhere and wearing masks and being very careful about keeping my hands clean. But I tried going to an urgent care and they're like, oh no, we don't want to see you. And I'm like, I have a cold. I know I have a cold. And they wouldn't see me because they were afraid it was COVID. That was local. That was in our little town.
It was a weird time. It was such a weird time to work through too, because I can remember our large trauma hospitals couldn't actually take trauma cases because the hospitals were setting up tents outside of the hospital to treat COVID patients. So they couldn't take more serious cases. And so they were sending them to smaller town hospitals. And so a lot more people were dying. Yeah, because they didn't have the trauma doctor. They just weren't capacitated for those things. It was just really surreal. It was such a weird time to work. It was weird.
I think we'll do like a whole episode on COVID because you actually gave me some interesting, I don't want to say facts, but you were telling us some of the things that we were seeing on TV. You were explaining why. I feel like they were showing us images of things, but they weren't explaining the why of things were happening. And you explained it to us and we're like, oh, that makes more sense. So I think maybe we'll just do an episode on like COVID so we don't have to eat this up. But speaking of eat, we're calling this episode, we're on 46 and we're calling it Human Crockpot.
Yes. This is actually in December, so it can be a little misleading.
Can I guess what it is? Because I don't know. Was somebody in a hot tub?
I don't know. Guess you'll find out. So that's maybe why it can be a little misleading. So this person, they hadn't been heard from in a few days. And
a few days?
Yes. And he lives alone. So for someone like me, I live alone. And sometimes I feel like, if I'm not heard from in a couple days, well, I know that wouldn't happen because you text me like 10 times in a row. And if I don't answer in an hour, you told me you would contact my neighbors. But
and let's be fair, I don't even know Amy's neighbors, but I would find out who they are real fast.
Well, sometimes I wonder because I've sometimes gone a week without picking up my mail. And I'm like, I wonder why my mail person has never thought to send a welfare check for me. So, I mean, I guess it's a good sign if my dogs are inside barking. I don't know, but
so I know her neighbors. Oh, okay. I've got their phone numbers.
Yes. Let's not worry. It's covered. But I think that's a long time for someone that is, let's see, he was born in 59 and this occurred in 2017. So quick math. Yeah.
We can't say how because mom. Oh.
Old.
I think we let that cat out of the bag.
Well, Mom, if Kelly's.
Were you saying how old she is?
If I'm 34. How old should you be? So I'm just going to leave it at that. So no one is offended by anything here. Okay. So anyways, this gentleman who's not that old, he doesn't yet receive, or does he? Let's see. Never mind. I'm going to move on from his age. He lives alone and he has a medical history of just high blood pressure and he has some back pain, but, really nothing too significant.
No, that's called middle age.
Okay.
That's middle age pains.
Yeah. I mean, stress can give you high blood pressure. So it really can happen at any age, I think. So he, like I said, he hasn't been heard from in a few days. And his brother was actually the one that became concerned. So he knows that his brother he works in the oil field. So I think he's actually gone sometimes for like a couple weeks at a time. And then I think he has like a week off. So I think it's kind of normal for him to be gone a couple weeks at a time. But I think the brother knew that he should have been going back to work. And I don't think like work had heard from him. So let's see. Yeah, he had been last heard from on the 5th. So it had been 4 days. He hadn't been heard from in 4 days. So yeah, the brother was like, maybe I'll go check on him. And he went to the front door and he didn't answer. So he's like, I'll just go around back and I'll come through the back door. And when he first came around the back gate and went through the backyard, he noticed that the back like sliding door was wide open. And he's like, well, that's kind of weird. Then he noticed that the hot tub was running. And he didn't really look in there at first, but then he kind of looked a little bit closer at it and noticed there was like this slimy, foamy brown substance on the top, and his brother was floating and very, what we would call advanced stages of decomposition at this point.
His brother was soup?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So he'd been broiling in there.
I don't know that a person is considered beef.
Oh, well, that's true.
Yeah. So for you two, with the whole brisket thing, you guys want to know why I don't want brisket and all this other stuff. Yeah. Think about this.
No, that's a mental picture we don't want to think about.
Yeah. Every Christmas, you guys get this brisket. And why don't you like brisket?
It's prime rib.
Well, first of all, last year you got chicken. So let's not.
No, turkey, right?
Finally, because.
Bought you steak.
Oh, yeah, I bought
Christmas.
you steak.
Well, Kelly actually remembered this year.
Yeah, Hungry Hunter. Yeah,
because Mom every other year is like, I don't know why you don't like this. Okay,
it's prime rib. It's prime rib.
Because you don't know what this stuff smells like. Anyways.
No, I don't want to know.
Well.
No, she thinks humans are beef.
Yeah, I'm giving you a good mental image right now, woman. So.
Well, you know, too, chicken.
Tuna sandwiches.
Yeah, good thing you guys are having fish for dinner. So there you go.
Not the same. It's not the same.
No. That reference was from Nick Lachey and
Jessica Simpson. I know.
Simpson. Oh, I knew you would know.
Chicken of the Sea. Amy knows. She just thinks we're being dumb.
Yeah, I'll just wait here for you guys to.
Sorry. All right. The brother was.
I'm actually surprised Mom knows that reference. Anyways, so
beef stew.
It was all over, media.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so he had been broiling in there for 4 days like that. So I think you guys know, like when you take off like the Crockpot lid after something's been like in there cooking for like a long time, not that like filmy surface that sits on top and then around the rim of the top of the water, what that looks like. And it's like, yes.
Oh.
It's like his skin had already sloughed off. The top layer had already cooked off. So like the vat was starting to cook and like his hair was starting to come off too. Like his head, and he was so bloated because, of course, all the gases inside had nowhere to go. So, because we've already talked about what happens when you start decomposing, right? Like in your lower intestines, all the bacteria starts breaking down. And so he just started bubbling up, and his like stomach just like made him like flip over. So he's like floating on top of the surface of the water. And of course it's still bubbling over. And like,
He wasn't face down?
No, his like stomach was making him float upright because the gases. So that's what his brother like walked into, was this like, yeah. So his brother actually ended up just unplugging the hot tub, and he unplugged it at 11 o'clock in the morning. And I showed up. What time was it that I showed up? At noon. So I showed up an hour later, but it was December here. So it was like 50 degrees, which is actually pretty warm here for this time of year. But I mean, of course, like it was still really warm when I got there. Like the water was still pretty warm. But yeah, what was left there for me when I got there was still this oily substance sitting on top of this water with like still like these foamy, brown, chunky bubbles. Just
Can you drain? I mean, how did you get everything out? Could you just...
No, you can't drain that.
Yeah, but you just couldn't leave all that in a hot tub.
That wasn't my problem. Like, I don't know. I don't know. That was not my problem at that point, because I was just like trying to figure out like, what am I going to do? Of course, I asked the brother first, and I was like, so what can you tell me like about him other than... does he take medications? Has he been depressed? And he's like, no, not depressed or anything. He does like to drink. So he could have been like very dehydrated once he was in there because of how hot it was when he was drinking. And maybe
was he
passed
drinking
out.
in there also?
There was alcohol, yes, next to it. And then there was alcohol open like inside the kitchen that was like sitting out.
What kind of alcohol?
I don't remember. I know that it was like liquor. It wasn't beer.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so he was really like going at it.
Yeah, so...
Why was it your problem how to get him out? I mean, you have transport. Didn't you call transport and say, hey, bring a net?
It's like me in one transport. That was pretty normal for how it worked. That was usually how it worked. And I was lucky that I got the person who I had. Instead of, well, I'll just leave it at that, because usually I was the one that was doing the majority of the work. So, because they knew that I could pull heavy bodies by myself. So, and a lot of times our transport service also would transport for other funeral homes, because they just contracted for our office, but they also contracted for funeral homes and nursing homes. So they would wear nice suits.
Oh.
So I think I mentioned that in our second episode with Mr. December. So just keep that in mind, that when my transport showed up, that he's wearing a suit, which we usually do keep, like we have like the booty covers, like the ones that go up to your knees. But for whatever reason, whoever would order our stuff for our office, they did not think that we needed like Tyvek suits because they were, quote, expensive. So I'm like, okay, so you're going to ration us for how many we get of those. And they would buy like really cheap body bags that would rip when we'd pull on the handles, which I'm like, shouldn't you prioritize those things? It just kind of baffled me. So yeah, we didn't have that many Tyvek suits, so that's why I ended up throwing away so many clothes. But this poor transport driver, I was asking, I was like, so how should we get this body out of here? Because there really isn't like a good way about that. One, this guy's decomposing and his top layer of skin has already sloughed off. And so he's slippery as well. And like we're wearing gloves, so you can't get good traction like with grasping him, and he's bloated. So you really can't even grip him. A lot of times when you are trying to grab someone and pull them over, like you typically grab their like wrists or ankles, and like the water, you don't want that water sloshing because it's coming over onto us. And then 2, this hot tub or this jacuzzi was really tall.
I feel like they're all super tall and awkward, like when you get into them, unless it's in ground.
Yeah, well, a lot of times because it's like the motor and stuff that's underneath and like the jets, but it came up to my chest. So like I'm like 5'7", 5'8", and this thing comes up to my chest. So almost 4 feet tall. Like, that's so awkward. Like, how are we going to get this guy out of this? And so we're like sitting here, like talking about this. And we're just like, okay, well, first we're going to start with getting some of these like white sheets that they keep in the back of their van for transportation, because they use them sometimes to like cover people up that come from like nursing homes that don't have body bags, because like nursing homes don't pay for body bags like we do for transportation. And then sometimes they also use them and they put Lysol on them to like help cover the smell. So what we typically do is we will take the sheets and we'll wrap them around either the wrists or the ankles to like give us some leverage to pull. Like you can wrap them around and just help pull because they won't slip off. And so we got the cot, and this is what we do with like taller beds as well. Or even if like you're pulling someone down the stairs, like you just line it up straight with the stairs and you just slide them down like right to the top of the cot. So we pull the cot up next to the side of the jacuzzi, and then we already have the body bag on top of it. So you just essentially should just be able to slide him right out of the jacuzzi right into the bag. But like the main thing like you're trying not to do is slosh the water.
Oh.
So I asked my transport I was like, what do you want me to do here? Do you want me to like get the other arm from the other side and pull there? Do you want me to pull the ankles? And he just kind of like gave me this look like he knew what was coming, and he just looked over at me and was like, I'll just do it. And I was like, are you sure? And he said, you have the whole rest of like your shift to go. Like you've been working this, like, since I was working a Sunday, I had already been working. This was like a 32-hour shift. And I was like 3 hours from being to the end. And he's just like, I'll just do it. And like he took one for the team. And he started pulling him over. And of course, like as he started pulling, like he's pulling him horizontally over, right? So he has an ankle and he has a wrist, and he's coming horizontally over, and the water splashes up from under his back, and it just from the chest down just soaks him. And I'm just like standing there like this with like my hands up on my face, and I'm trying not to gag because that's like cooked body skin and fat and probably purge from this guy's stomach. And I'm just like, I owe you like a suit. And he's just like, no, it's fine. It's fine. And because we all know what that feels like to have to work those scenes and then like have to work the rest of your shift smelling like that, feeling that like dead person's body juices soaked through to your toes, like knowing that you're just going to go straight home and just throw all these things away and it's like basically scrub your body raw. It's just
all
so
I keep thinking about is, why do we keep saran wrap in the car? Like I would have saran wrapped my body like in pieces. I would have gone like the chest. I would have gone like my arms. I would have been like
you
my
can't
neck. I know. Yeah, saran wrap. It's not like that thick. I would have just like protected myself or like bought my own like Tyvek suit or like.
Yeah, but she makes it sound like, I mean, if it's coming up over your chest, it's splashing on your face.
Yeah, I know. But I'm saying like I would have like maybe you get like a mask.
I kept thinking she was going to say they're going to take the sheet and put it under the body and kind of wrap. Well,
that would be heavy.
Well,
Yeah. Plus, you have to like actually, someone's going to have to reach under there to get the sheet, which I've done the whole putting my arm down the jail toilet.
I remember that.
Which I put the trash bag. But I mean, sometimes you're so busy. It's like, well, I can't just stop everything that I'm doing to go change or go find this or do whatever because I'm not prepared or I don't have these things. So
now you're prepared.
What are those gloves that mom used to use for cleaning? The ones that came up to your elbows?
The yellow. Yeah. Yeah. And those are pretty well cheap. But then you think about like how many of those you go through, you know, you get like blood on them and you can't like just take those things off and then like put them back on because when your hands are sweaty, you can't do that.
Could you put gloves on top of them? Could you put like disposable gloves on top of them?
Okay, well then you get them like you get blood up like to your elbow, and then what?
Solver.
And then what? They don't reimburse you for that, so then you're buying it, and then what you want them to reimburse it, so you're taxed twice on that. Like, I only had a $200 budget when I first started there for clothes. My boots alone cost $200. I had to throw away my first pair of boots, not even like 6 months into my first like year. So it's like.
You mean for your high paying job, they didn't give you enough money to buy new boots and clothes?
I know, crazy, huh?
High paying job?
Yeah. Can you believe it that a state job wouldn't fund that nasty job and give me money for clothes?
I know that these people are already gone. You're not going to kill them. We've already established you're not going to kill them, but I think your job is really important. I mean, especially because you never know what you're going to encounter. You never know if it were a homicide and that there's evidence that you have to collect. I mean, it actually means going to prison or not. You know, you're trying to keep somebody out of prison or at least find justice for the person that's died or has been killed. So I would think you would make better money than what you do.
Well, and just the situations too that you're put into, like the scene, sometimes it's like fentanyl on scene or people that have TB or AIDS or hepatitis C or tuberculosis or people that threaten you with guns, and the cops have already left you there.
And you get hazard pay.
Okay, wait. I want to back this up real fast before we get off topic. What did he die of?
I think he had a heart attack.
Oh, well, a question. If somebody's been like in a hot tub for that long, I mean, is there rigor mortis or they've just been soft or they're, this is cooked.
At that point, the rigor's already passed because he's in decomposition. So it's already come and gone at that point.
You learned that in the ABCs of death investigation. Amy talked about rigor is not forever.
Sorry. Rigor?
Yeah, it breaks down.
By the way, is it rigor or rigor? Because if it's rigor mortis, if the word is rigor mortis,
Mama Mia is behind in episodes.
I am a little bit behind. Actually, I like that episode where somebody criticized you guys. I thought you did a good job. And
well, then you should have listened. She told you why she says it. She thinks she picked it up from somewhere.
I always said it that way. I don't know why.
No, I've heard you say it. And I don't, like you said, tomato, tomato, potato, potato. But I'm just thinking, if the word is actually rigor mortis, then hey, you say it any way you want to. I know what you mean. We all know what you mean. We all know.
I mean, I do my job and I do it well. So I don't think it affects it.
There you go.
Do you have any other questions for Amy?
No, I got to go make some chicken of the sea.
Not beef? You don't want to make anything in the crock pot?
I haven't done anything in the crock pot for a long time. My new thing is Instapot. I think I've bought each one of you Instapots.
Hey, it'd be the same thing. If he would have had the lid on, it would have been an Instapot.
Oh, pressure cooker.
Yeah, true.
Okay, wait, I do have a question. When you pull him out and he's already I guess you said decomposed, but would his insides have been boiled, cooked? They
would just be in a state of decomposing. So they would be more like in a liquidizing type of state.
Did he just fall apart when you guys were pulling him out?
Yeah, that's what happens when you're in a place that has a high humidity rate. It's just things just start sloughing off And it's kind of the same thing with like the insides. They just kind of like, I don't want to say they kind of turn into like slime or like putty almost. It's a weird texture because it's not like a solid form. It's no longer, I don't want to say like texturized, but it's lost its original form. You know, it's breaking down. So it's turned into like a liquidized.
And
more
Amy
substance.
talked about it before with how your body in water, how like it turns into slime. What is that, Amy? What is the term?
With the soap on the skin.
Well, but I'm thinking it's different because a hot tub, it's not like a bathtub where, you know, it doesn't stay heated up. It's just hot for days. So
yeah, it's just going to speed up your decomposition rate. So you're just going to decompose faster.
At least he was outside, so it wasn't like, I'm sure he stunk, but I'm sure like it wasn't as bad.
Yeah, that's true. Because, you know, when you are walking into a house and you see like the flies in the window that are like congregating and then they're like already dying, like they've already passed the maggot stage, you're just like, ugh. Yeah, because I've had the flies fly into my mouth and you just like, ugh, like you have to step outside for a second so you can just throw up real quick and they're big and juicy. Yeah, when that fly flies down your throat, you do. So you can get it out.
Oh, okay. It comes back out? That's what I was wondering.
If you're gay.
You throw it up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I got to go eat. So
yeah, we got to go.
If you have any questions, you can email us.
Too much information. It started getting a little too juicy there.
You can email us at kelly@diaryofadeathinvestigator.com or you can message us on Instagram, Diary of a Death Investigator.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that so funny? All the disgusting things that I have
happened to you and didn't happen to us.
All right. And until next time.
Bye.